Hello, Lone Wolves. How are you doing? On this Christmas Eve, I would like to surprise you with a interview I had with a subscriber. It was with a man called Mohammed Umer. He is a doctor. He lives and works in Australia. He is also a single father. And I think he has some very interesting things to say. So I decided to interview him and ask him a lot of questions, especially about fatherhood, the role of the father, being a single father. And I think he has a lot of good and interesting and valuable things to say. So the interview comes in two parts. And, well, tonight I will present you the first part. So I wish you a Merry Christmas. And I hope you will enjoy this talk while eating your turkey. Bye-bye.
Remember the time we were standing on the rooftop. You shone as bright as the city before us.
I'll tell you a bit of a thing. You know, what happens is the wisdom, the generational wisdom which is passed on from father to son or grandfather to the grandson. See, if you go back 300 years of when we used to say family, what it meant was there were three generations living under the same roof. So it would be me, my father, and my grandparents, generally speaking. Okay? And just imagine me spending time with my grandfather, learning things from his life experiences with my father. Because generally speaking, in those times, the fathers would be away working really hard from dawn till sunset. So they weren't actually there to contribute directly to child care, like in the house. It was the mother and it was the grandparents. Does that make sense? Because father was always away tilling the land or going for hunting or whatever job they were doing.
Yes.
Now, today, fast forward to today, now the family is only husband, wife, and one or two kids. And what happens? And in the West, because this divorce rate is so high, fathers are not there. Okay, so what is happening is all the sons and the daughters, they've not had a real father's input there. And what that does is it does not set boundaries for them psychologically.
Yes.
So every new generation in the West now has to start relearning from scratch. And this is exactly what happens to octopuses. When the octopus's hatchlings are born, the mama octopus actually dies. And the hatchlings have to start learning everything from scratch. Every generation which is born has to learn to fend for itself from the scratch. There is no generational wisdom passed on to them. And this is what happened when they shifted some juvenile bulls from one reserve to another reserve in Africa. And they started finding rhinos trampled to death. And they realized that the reason the rhinos were being found dead was that the new juvenile elephants were actually killing them. Because there were no grown-up adult elephant bulls to stop them from doing that, to set the limits in the ecosystem of the jungle. And this is what is happening. So that is the reason this is my theory, and I think it needs to be looked into. My theory is that you look at all these mass shooters in USA, almost all of them are from homes where there was no father. So the discord and the unrest and the social injustice in USA is so deep. It is so deep. And my feeling is this is just the beginning. It is going to get worse over time because the population of these children from fatherless homes is actually increasing. 10 years from today, 20 years from today, it will be a much bigger problem than it is today. It's not going to stop. It is going to get worse.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what we wanted to talk about, about the role of the father, about single fatherhood, because as far as I understand, first of all, you're a doctor, I believe.
Yes, I'm a doctor, professional. So contrary to what most people like to paint, MGTOWs, I don't like labels. I don't call myself MGTOWs. But I do fit the definition what MGTOWs use, but I've got two kids, and my reason of not allowing anybody else or any other woman to have any relation with me is because of my children. And it's really ironic because here's the deal: the laws in West are such that if I work hard, I buy a house, I get some savings, I've got 2 kids, I'm separated my ex-wife, so it's me and my 2 kids. If another woman is married to me for 1 hour on the papers, and she decides to leave me in 1 week's time, she gets to walk away with more than, or at least half of my property. My kids get nothing. Why would you make such laws which are so unjust towards children? Don't they have any rights? It's just like unbelievable. And that's the reason I can't, my family, because, I'm from Pakistan, so we're a very traditional family. So as soon as this unfortunate event happened, they wanted me to, you should start your family again. I said, there's no way I'm doing this ever again, because that's it. I'm done and dusted. And to be honest, I get my kids. I just really do not have any time to attend to anything, man. Like tonight, they are not here. That's the reason I'm able to have this conversation with you. Otherwise, my 4-year-old son would be sitting right here and he would be talking to you. He would not. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, he does not stay without me like 15 minutes. If he doesn't see me in the house, he just starts looking for me and calling for me. And I love it. These are the most precious moments of my life.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, absolutely.
So, like you said, you're a single father. You don't hear that as often as single mothers, because mostly it's the mother who takes the kids.
Yeah,
In this case,
because
yeah.
uh-huh.
This case,
Yeah, please go on.
In this case, it's the other way around. And do you mind to tell a bit about the history?
Yeah, look, history is it's unfortunate. Even today, there's nothing more I would like to have other than my kid's mother to come back and we all be together so that we are under the same roof. For children, it's absolutely critical to have both parents and they live under the care of both parents. I can't do that because if I do this and this happens again in 5 years' time, she just gets to walk away with half of my whatever money and assets I have. Nothing goes to my children. Like the court just divided between husband and wife as if children are non-existent. So I get them about 50% of time they are with me, 50% of time they are with their mother. She works 1 day a week and I work 4.5 days a week. And I had to change my timings at work because I used to work 9 to 5 and I used to provide hospital emergency cover in the place where I live, and I couldn't do that anymore because if I have kids, I can't attend emergency call because I can't leave kids alone when they are with me. So that's out of the window. And so that's one thing. Then I had to reduce my hours from 9 to 5 to 9 to 3 so that I can pick and drop them when they are with me. So, and it's a lot of juggling. And that's what I always say, that raising kids and giving them attention is a full-time job. It can't be done part-time. And if you dump them into the daycare or the preschool, it's horrendous. Like you really are telling me that you can put your own child, 3-year-old, 2-year-old or 4-year-old into a stranger's care, and they will attend to them just as much with as much affection and love as I would attend to them.
Yes.
It just does not make sense. It's cruelty. It's to me, in my understanding, my children have a right to be directly cared for by their own parents directly without having to involve a daycare, or this is the first casualty of this hive of feminism, where the children, nobody talks about it, and they consider it some sort of virtuous act to put kids into daycare or preschool. I mean, this is cruel. This is inhumane.
Maybe you already said it, but how many times do they see their mother?
So what happens is that 50%. So how it works in Australia is that you can have different kind of arrangements, whatever you agree between the mother and father, between the parents. That is, the court is perfectly fine with it. So at the moment, I get them on every weekend. Then I have them on Monday, and they stay the Monday night with me. Then they go back. I drop them at school, or their mother picks them up from my place. And then for another night, they come to me through the week, which is random. It could be Thursday, it could be Wednesday, it could be Friday. It varies from time to time. And so generally speaking, the amount of time in a 2 week time period, let's say, they end up being with me for about 7 days, 6 days, sometimes 7, 8 days with me and 6 days with their mother. Sometimes it's the reverse. But if you average it out, you could say on average 7 days they are with me and 7 days they are with their mother. But it's not always 7 continuous days.
Okay.
They're scattered and they are, all over the place, kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
It's still it's still under progress, and it's work under progress. So it will take a while before the court makes its final ruling. But I feel that is what it is going to be, and practically right now that's what we are doing. So I'm happy with it.
All right.
I won't want to change. Yeah.
And you have a son of 4 and the other.
He's 4.5.
Yeah.
And my daughter is about 9 years of age.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just so I can see it in front of me. And you already talked about a little bit about your views about the role of the father in the life of the child. I think that's very interesting, because me, I'm a son of a single mother. Like I've been raised not 50-50 like yours. I wish that would have been the case, but I was like from Monday until until Saturday morning with my mother, and then my father would pick me up, and I would be in the weekends with him, and then Sunday I would go back Sunday in the evening to my mother again. So
that's very small amount.
It's very small amount of,
very,
and I think I already talked about in the other with XT about the fact that you get used. You see one thing as normal and one thing you see as abnormal, or at least deviating from the norm. And I think the time I spent with my mother was normal. And the 2 days with my father was like sometimes was a punishment, because I think you need.
It can be.
What do you think about it? Just your own views about your situation, and maybe you can.
Yes.
About my situation.
I think the fathers. I'll start with giving you a very, very interesting example, which is an observation, and I think I've discussed with other fathers and other parents, and they actually kind of agree with it. And the example is that when we were together, my daughter would do something mischievous and cheeky, and her mother would try to discipline her and be assertive with her and tell her, no, don't do it. And my daughter wouldn't pay any attention to her, no matter how much she said and how much her voice got loud. And then mom would bring the matter to daddy, which was me, and I wouldn't even yell, and I would say, Zara, don't do this. And geez, like her eyes would fill up with tears, and I would start crying, but I couldn't do it because it was very hard. But I realized that I had to set the limits. And then eventually she understood that if I do not listen to my mother, the matter is going to get escalated to daddy. And then from daddy's voice, she's just, and I asked her, I said, tell me why do you cry when I'm not yelling at you? Why are you crying? And she said, I don't know, Baba. Your voice is heavy and husky, and it's very deep, and I just get, it just hits me that way that I just start crying. And but what happened was that after those initial time periods of setting those limits, now she's set. Now she doesn't do those things at all. And she's actually, it's more productive towards her, because now she's got time for reading, she's got time for TV, she's got time for every activity. We go and we do mechano sets, we go and do Lego sets. Then there's time when we watch movies, then there's time when we do reading, and then there's times she asks me about something and I teach her about it. So it's like, and she now knows this is the norm. But for that, there must be adequate time between father and the children. And in your situation, it would just not be possible. And see, there's the other thing. I'm a very lucky person that I could I'm in a situation where I could reduce my working hours. Tell me, if any other father, how many fathers can actually reduce their working hours and still keep their job?
Yeah, not many, I think.
I don't know. Yes, because if I was working in a mining situation, nobody's going to let me reduce my hours because I have to have kids. And for anybody to have kids 50-50 of time, you actually have to sacrifice your earnings. So I had to sacrifice a major amount of my earning. I don't care, because right now the most important thing is for me to develop the right bond with my children and ensure that they do not get dumped into the daycare or the preschool. And now what the situation is, my daughter, now the Christmas holidays have started in Australia. And I asked my daughter, do you want me to book you for vacation care? And she said, no, Baba, I want to stay with you. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
fantastic outcome over last 1 year.
Yeah.
So I could not be happier.
Yeah.
I could not be happier. And I'm really grateful to God that, I was able to do this. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but I think I've done reasonably well with my situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it sounds. Yeah. Wow. So
Yeah.
you're trying to be basically the best father you can be, and even
I
sacrificing
can
your
be. Yeah.
job, a part of your
Absolutely.
earnings. And well, I think that's very good.
Huge part of my earnings. My earnings have gone slashed down by more than half, man.
Yeah.
But I'm doing okay. I'm stable. I'm in a little bit of debt, but eventually that will get paid off.
Mm.
I know that. So it's not a major issue unless I die or something. I'm gonna
Mm.
be all right. I
Mm.
know that. So
I think I
yeah.
think that's just what I think is that, well, the fact you're a single father, at least you don't have a wife that has all kinds of demands right now.
Yeah. Oh
So
man,
like
demands. Yeah.
yeah, like being on your own as a guy, even with children. I can
Yeah.
imagine that you can live. You don't need so much. That's what I experience. For example, when I was in relationships, that
Mhm.
well, now I'm alone for about 2 years, even longer. Is
Yeah.
we men we don't need so much. So I think
Yeah.
that's
Absolutely.
yeah, cutting your earnings. At least if you can survive and you can take care of your
Yeah.
kids, that would be enough. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And see, the thing is, it's very funny. You see, ever since we separated, she left, and it's very, very. I actually now think, because see, I'll tell you the routine. What was happening when we were together, starting 2013 up till, like, for about 4.5 years to 5 years, starting in 2013 June July,
Hmm.
I was paying my ex-wife $1,000 every 4 weeks. That was her. That was her.
Hmm.
That was her pocket money, her own pocket money, and it had nothing to do with groceries or bills or electricity or any expense. Everything for kids, every insurance, car insurance, maintenance of the house, I was paying on top of that. That was her money, because see, from the religious point of view, as a Muslim, the responsibility of taking finances is upon the husband,
Hmm.
and being the role of being homemaker is the domain of the wife. So
Hmm.
if my wife chose to work, and she did work, little bit of thing, I have no right over that money. She is free not to spend that money on home at all. If she wants to, she can do it, but I can't demand it from her, because being the primary provider is my sole responsibility. So that is what I was doing. Now, on top of that, I was also paying a lady to come and, help her out.
Hmm.
2 hours a day, 3 days a week. And I was paying her $25 per hour, which is $600 every month. So she would come, she would do the cleaning, she would do whatever, ironing, mopping the floors, doing the washing, whatever she needed to do.
Hmm.
And she was not doing any regular job.
Hmm.
And and I was working like my butt off, 9 to 5, emergency, constantly. I got sick and everything, and I went into a burnout,
Yeah.
and I had no choice but to keep going, because for a father, as a provider, that's my role. I do my best to provide for the family so that they are comfortable.
Hmm.
And her expectation was, and her response used to be, "Oh, you don't pick and drop the kids." I said, like, what do you want me to do? I'm working like a dog from morning to night. Why can't you do it? You're not doing a job. I provide you with petrol and a car, and I spent $2,500 for lessons for you to learn how to drive. So why can't you do that?
Oh.
and I thought, and see, the thing is, running a home, maintaining a home, giving attention to kids does require a lot of time and energy. There is no doubt about that.
Mhm.
But now that I'm doing that for last 1.5 years or so, I'm actually asking again and again, what the hell was she unhappy about? Because now I do everything myself. That same lady is still coming for exactly same number of hours in
Mhm.
days. She comes, cleans, goes away. I get kids. I do their cooking myself and
Mhm.
everything. So I'm just wondering, well, when the kids go to school or to the preschool,
Mhm.
like you had all the time in the world. So what were you unhappy about that I wasn't doing? And she put in an affidavit to the court. She wrote these words. He was financially abusing me. Tell me, man, I would be very grateful to any man or a woman who is paying me $1,000 tax free every 4 weeks for 5 years. I would be very grateful to that person.
Yeah.
She said I was financially abusing her. It's just unbelievable. Like,
It's
it's
just
just
it
unbelievable.
sounds like the absence of every form of logic and rationality and
It
just a
quite
person
it's
that is
look I'm
always,
and
yeah.
see, despite all that, what she's done, I don't like hate her or I've got any resentment for her, because for whatever she's done, she's left whatever, that's okay. She's done it. My only sorrow is that this was unfair to the children. That's my number one,
Mm.
you know um my first thought is this. And if she's left, she's left. I still don't hate her. I don't want to talk bad or bad mouth her, but I do want to discuss this story because men out there, my next generation, my own son, and everybody who's younger to me, they're either like a younger brother to me or my son if they're young enough. And I owe it to them so that, see, here's the thing. Women are very, very expert at sharing their stories. Okay. And they rally behind each other.
Mm.
So what's happened over last 100 years or 8 decades is that they've developed a narrative and they've painted the man as an
Oh
evil,
yeah.
vile creature, and woman is always the victim. And I am really, really not happy with that, because men, generally speaking, would not want to share their story, because, see, as a father, as a provider, I consider it below me, below my morality, to discuss all this at, in a way which is like washing your laundry in public. But
Mm.
see, the injustice is so massive that my personal feelings and my personal morals are no longer important. What is more important is what is going to happen to other men 20 years from today. My son, everybody is my son who is his age. Everybody is my daughter. And they don't realize it will affect my daughter too. What do you think will happen to her when she grows up to be 25 or 20? Is
Mhm.
she going to be the same self-entitled person? Or is she going to be someone who's got some sort of sanity between her temporal bones? So as a
Ah,
father, my job is to
yeah.
the right light,
Good questions.
and I would, yeah. So it affects women also. So it's equally important for my daughter too, and all other daughters, not just my daughter. Every daughter is my daughter. I look at them in the same box as my daughter is in there, or my son is there, or my younger brother or my younger sister.
Mhm. Mhm.
It affects everybody.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. It, again, good questions about is the same going to happen to your daughter? And
Absolutely.
well, I see, of course, when I'm outside, and well, also in regards to family of my own, I see, yeah, many young children, young women, and I think I think the same. What's going to happen with them? Are they going to be entitled and everything? But I think, yeah, as a father, you have quite a role in that.
Absolutely.
To
Father sets the limit.
yeah.
Mother nurtures the children, and in the role that, so say for example, see, the thing is, um, in West, it's not a very big thing, but in other cultures like myself, and in the Muslim culture, Indian culture, in Japanese, Chinese culture, there's a lot of stress on respect of the elders. So,
Mhm.
for example, my mother is more than 70. She can still slap me and I'll take it like anything. I will not respond. She can say anything to me and I will not respond,
Mhm.
because she's my mother, not because she's a woman, but because of the relation that I have to her. She's my mother. I was weak. I was nothing.
Mhm.
She carried me inside her womb for 9 months. That has got something, some credit to it. But in the Western civilization, the only focus somehow has drifted to be on, oh, me, my individual rights. Mommy is irrelevant, daddy is irrelevant, children are irrelevant. It's just me. I need to be out there doing things I love to do. What the hell is that supposed to mean? It's such a superficial way of looking at it. And when same people, when they grow, same women, and when they grow, they get 45, 55, then they're sitting there alone with their cats or whatever, and they're saying, oh, I'm not having a fulfilling life. Like this video that someone shared, Ukrainian Lens, and Jordan Peterson also shared that article. There's a woman who's 35, she's alone, she's got cats, she doesn't have a man. Well, didn't you see, are you the women, weren't women saying, women need a man like a fish needs a bicycle? Well, what happened to that? What man now? Cats should be good enough for you.
But it isn't. Really,
It isn't.
believe me.
See, that's the thing. Someone said life is best understood backwards. Unfortunately, it must be lived forwards. So, the meaningful in life is actually in doing difficult things. And people think it's a lot of things have become cliches. Like, oh, I'm looking for the right one. I'm looking for love. Life is not about love. Life and the satisfaction and the meaningfulness in life, what does it come from? It comes from when you discharge your duty in your roles and relationships. So when I do my best to discharge my duty as a father for my children, that is what constitutes real meaningfulness in life. That is what it is. As a son, when my father was dying, I was sitting right next to him. For 1.5 months, I left my job. I suffered immense financial loss. I couldn't care less. And that was the best decision of my life. I ended up in debt and whatnot, lot of difficulties. But that was the best decision I made in my life. I was sitting right next to my father when he breathed his last. And nothing else could substitute for that moment. And to know that he knew that his son did not abandon him. That is what meaningfulness in life is. It was a difficult situation. The decision was very easy. It was very clear to me what needed to be done. The situation was very difficult. There were consequences, but dealing with those consequences and situation is what constitutes meaningfulness in life. The solace to your soul. That is what the soul is yearning for. It is not yearning for getting drunk or getting laid or having fun.
No.
It's about discharging your duty in a responsible manner. That is what is meaningful in life is.
Yeah, but it's what you're saying. That thing, let's call it responsibility. Let's just call it that, just for keeping it easy and simple. Is that responsibility is not as opposed to, for example, drugs and alcohol and stuff like that, like free sex, quick sex stuff. It is not a immediate gratification, and that's the difference. And that's what people are after. And people think, and that's the only thing that money can buy. It's that immediate gratification. But
absolutely.
That's only short term. That's short term pleasure.
It is very short term. It is very, very short term. And see, people don't realize there are consequences to everything that you do in life. So people think, oh, I'm going to have as much sex as possible, and then I'm going to become suddenly monogamous. Well, guess what? It doesn't work that way, because when you've had multiple sexual relationships throughout your life, then you can't stay satisfied with one person. You can't pair bond. You cannot develop emotional bond with that person. There's another aspect to it. When you're having a physical relationship with another individual, you actually start developing emotions between you. And what happens in West is people keep repeating this cycle over and over again in search of the perfect one. Boys do it, girls do it. So before they actually settle down, they have done, 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 runs of having a boyfriend, girlfriend. And then they go, I've broken up with my boyfriend. Oh, broken up with my girlfriend. I'm really sad. Well, marriage is for keeps. It's not a disposable thing. You're supposed to stay. There is a reason. And see, there's a thing. It's a virtuous thing to keep your promise. If you do not keep your promise, you do not keep your covenant, you have breached a certain morality. And people breach this most solemn, the most sacred covenant of being together, this being together in a lifelong bond. They treat it like it's a disposable thing. It's got an expiry date on it. I'll try this 2 years, move on to the next one. Well, no wonder you can't settle down, because you've practiced being, shifting so many times that it's now become impossible for you to settle down with one person. And that's what it is.
Yeah, maybe if you become very, like, for example, such a person that has been with many women or men or whatever, if you become very aware of this, and maybe like a period of, for example, celibacy or something, or just like you have to detox from all that hyper stimuli.
Absolutely.
Let's call it that way. And I think that's a
Absolutely.
big problem.
Absolutely. Very good analogy. Very good analogy.
Well, thanks. So what I see,
Yeah.
for example, is there's an epidemic going on. For example, yesterday I was with my hairdresser, and she's a woman, and I'll always go there in the evenings to her home, and she's 30 years old, and I also know her girlfriends and stuff. I know them from years ago, and they're all like 30 years old, something 29, 30, and they're all single. Every one of them
Yeah.
is single, and they're miserable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly, because what you're saying about they are never satisfied. They have so
Yeah.
many, like a list of demands, and
Yep.
the thing is, I believe when I talk, because I always listen when she's doing my hair. For example, yesterday she was talking about something, also it was related to relationships. And I just listen because I'm very curious about their thoughts and what they're saying and thinking. And the thing is I think they don't even realize it. That's the difference. We realize it. We know what's going on.
Yep.
I think we think we know, but I think we have quite a good view on this. But they are completely in the dark about why they are so miserable.
Yeah. They're in total disconnect with reality.
That's it, huh? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So, well, it really strikes me, and that's why I call it a epidemic, because it's, well, the numbers I think more like women, 30 like women, just hitting the wall, as you can call it.
Yeah.
I think that the majority of them is
Wall
single.
takes. Yeah. See, they don't realize it's. Let's presume a hypothetical scenario. Let's presume a man wants to get married. I'll give you. Let's work with my example. So let's presume I want to get married. I had no kids. I had no previous marriage. I would want to have, say, 3 or 4 kids. Okay, because to sustain a civilization, you need to have more than 2 kids every family, like 2.3 or something like that. So that's a real demographic. I don't remember the exact number, but 2 kids is not enough. You need to have just a little bit more than 2 kids from statistical point of view. Okay. So I want to have 3 or 4 kids. And if the woman is 30 years of age and she's strong, independent, empowered mommy, she wants to be a woman who's independent. And if she's 30, how is she going to have 4 kids? Because let's presume everything works fine. She's perfectly healthy. She doesn't have any diseases of any sort that she needs to recover from. She gets pregnant. 9 months of pregnancy, she delivers a baby. Is she going to get pregnant straight away with the next baby? No. So if I want 3 or 4 babies and she agrees to it, and she also wants to have 4 babies, she doesn't have much time to have 4 babies. Because you would like 1 or 2 years, well, you will have 1 year at least, or 2 years between each baby. By the time you're thinking about the 4th baby, she's already 6, 7 years into caring your first 3 children. So how are you going to have the fourth one? Or if you had two, how are you going to have the third one? And that is the reason there was this traditional division of labor, which is what I had. That mother takes care of the children and the home. She stays at home. She has no pressure of working. She has no pressure of being the provider. I go out in the world. I deal with the world. I make money. I work from morning till night, whatever it takes to be a good provider for the family, to make the mother comfortable and help her fulfill her role as the mother. So it was a very, very pragmatic, division. And honestly, I can't get pregnant. I don't have a uterus. It's obviously going to be a mother. It's going to be a woman who has to become pregnant. Sorry, biology. I can't help that. So now, once you're doing that, how are you going to have, for 3 kids, if you're already 30, after 35, the risk of Down syndrome starts going going up. It does go up. And their fertility starts to drop. But that's a separate discussion. It's quite complex. It's not as simplistic as, oh, you're more than 35, so your next child is going to be Down's baby. That's not how it works. It's wrong to say it that way. So I will make that clarification right here. But it does become difficult. And another thing, when I was 18, 19, 20, I had this inexhaustible amount of and stores of energy.
Yeah.
I could play kids from morning till night. I could do whatever I wanted to do. Once you cross 30 years of age, you don't have that same kind of energy. And kids are a lot of energy, man. There are times when I'm literally dozing off with sleep and my son is pulling at my hand and my feet and wait, come Baba, come and play. And there's no way I will say no to him, because a 4-year-old child doesn't understand, like, dad is tired, he needs to have a nap. He doesn't give a shit. He wants to play now. Yeah. That's it. Absolutely. And I have to sacrifice my sleep. I have to get out of the bed and I become a horse or an elephant, or I have to become a transformer, Optimus Prime, whatever he wants wants me to get that moment. I have to act it out and I have to make him happy. And that is what creates bond between parents and their children. This kind of attention, that is what they need. And you cannot believe how sad I am. I go sometimes to the preschool to pick him up, and literally children gather around me because I go in and, I sometimes crawl on my hands and my knees, because I'm pretending to be something and he's pretending to be something. And then he runs into me and I hug him and I kiss him, and kids come and kids literally say these words to me, Wolf.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, Musa, your Baba does this. My Baba doesn't. My parents don't do this with me. So it's unknown to them that a parent can hug and kiss them like this, or be their horse, or be their elephant, or be a robot, or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they don't have that bond. They don't spend the time, because mommy needs to go to a job and daddy needs to go to a job, and the kids are dumped into the daycare. And that's why, if you got a chance to listen to Stephen Molyneux, he calls it the Daycare Generation, and very rightly so.
Sorry, the Daycare Generation. Yeah.
Yes, that's determines Daycare Generation, and that is who they are. And that is the reason they have so much, kind of a disconnect between parents and their children. They don't have that kind of bond which we used to have 50, 70 years ago, because mothers were totally focused on their children.
Yeah. Well, today, at least in this country, unless you have a very good job, both of the parents have to work. Otherwise, they cannot pay.
Because we have created society that way. Now we can't reverse it.
We?
Yeah, because so what's happened in West is over the last 7 decades, we have now created a society which makes it kind of necessary for both parents to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's just not, that is part of the thing. I think the other aspect is also that everybody wants to have, the material needs. I think there is also, they don't want to compromise on the material needs also, because they want to have a better car, They want to have a bigger house. They have to pay a mortgage. So it's quite complex thing now. Unfortunately, it's not easy
No.
to roll it all back. Yeah.
Just to compare it to my grandparents, that my mother, she's Dutch, from a Dutch family, and it was a family of 11 kids, and the mother was staying at home, just like it used to be, and the father was
Mm-hmm.
working. So one
Mm-hmm.
person working was able to afford to
Yeah.
pay for a family with
ab-
11 children. Now, I must say
Yep.
that the
Absolutely.
sons were often like sent to the factory when they were like 16 years old. So, okay, they brought in some money. That means that the expenses weren't too long. Like, for example, when they're 16, they already had to pay for this for themselves. But still, 11
Yeah.
children. I think, to be
Yeah.
honest, when I look at my
Yeah.
past relationships with women, that
Mm-hmm.
I believe, especially my last girlfriend said it to me. It's very strange because on the one hand, she's very like this typical independent, strong woman who wants to make a career. At one point, she earned like more than me and stuff like that, which I didn't actually didn't like that fact. But anyway, um,
Mm-hmm.
that she told me, despite the fact that she was so independent, and I think sometimes too independent, like not like distant, but more not wanting to. Well, her mother raised her with the idea she's also from a broken home and raised by a single mother, and I
Mm-hmm.
tend to attract those women.
Yeah.
So like attracts like, I
Yeah.
think. And she was
Yeah.
raised by the idea that she should always, no matter what happens, be able to provide for herself. And that was the most important lesson she got from her mother. Well, okay, I can
Yeah.
understand, but on the other hand, this will close off a lot of possibilities for her, for
Yeah.
example, to submit to a man or a husband and like be receptive to his willingness to provide for her, because she told me, and it was, I think, in the last stages of our relationship, that when she really wanted, what she really wanted was to start a family, to work less,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
maybe just to not work. To not work at all. In other
Yeah.
words, she longed for this traditional family,
Yeah.
but it was
Yeah.
like a inner struggle within herself, and I think many women have that. On the other hand, you also want
Yeah.
this.
Many
What
women
what
have it.
they want actually, they want
Yeah.
to have this.
Yeah.
Be a stay-at-home mother and be provided for. So I think they're just like how do
Mm.
you say that? They're very. I think they all have like a collective inner struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the other thing is like, there are a lot of women who've written excellent books, like Suzanne Venker, who's the author of the book Flip Side of Feminism. Then there's another one which is the name is What Our Mothers Didn't Tell Us: Why Are Women So Unhappy?
Exactly.
Um, yeah, so they have done excellent analysis. They've given references, and if anybody reads that with an objective mind, with a neutral mind, they can see what is wrong with this narrative that women must be outside their home doing, working, slaving it out to corporations, and not pay attention to their own children and their own homes.
Yeah.
It's like since when the criteria of being a woman or being empowered is that they must be working for a corporation? What does that mean? It just doesn't mean anything. I would be very happy if my wife was working, and in fact I offered it to her. I said, "Look, you are very unhappy with what I do for you, so here's an offer. How about you take the role of being the full-time provider, and I'll stay home full-time and I'll care for the children, and I will not pressurize you to make more money, but then you have to be the sole primary provider, because I it what what you want me to do cannot be done. I cannot be the father who's the provider and also the father who comes home and then takes care of children and mops the floor. And I've never asked you to do it, do both things, but I'm happy to swap the roles if you're happy. But she didn't want to do it because she knew that she has no prospects of making that kind of money. And even if she could, see, here's the thing. If you work 1 day or 2 days a week because it's your choice to work and you just want to feel good, it's one thing to work that way. But when you have to work because it's your responsibility to work non-stop to be a good provider, then it's a very difficult thing to do for next 30 years. And that is what women cannot do. And if you look at women, they're working with exceptions. Obviously, there are always outliers. But if you look at all these women with certain exceptions, most of them just go part-time. How many of them work 5 days a week? Very few.
Well, the ones who are alone. But as long when they're married,
or they work
change.
and but see, absolutely. See, because if you're a skilled worker, say for example, if you're a plumber or a carpenter, if you do not work full time or near full time, you actually start losing skills and you start losing business. So if you want to make money, you need to work full time. If you want to really if I want to create wealth and live a nice big house so that my children can fall back to it once I'm gone or something happens, God forbid, then I need to work like non-stop for 5 years to be able to pay off that mortgage. It cannot be done part-time unless you win a lottery or something. Yes, and it's very hard to sustain because males have this testosterone driven aggression. Males can continue to do this. The other thing that males do is, because we've got this aggression, we are into the habit of perfecting a thing. We try to evolve. We try to devise ways to do same thing in less time. That is where the progress comes from. That is where this aggression leads to. This is what these women call and the feminists call toxic masculinity. That's where because it requires aggression to be able to go out and make money and keep doing it for 5 or 10 or 20 years. You can't sustain that unless you've got aggression in you. Does that make sense? And that is why men are able to do it and women tend to burn out because it's just not doable for them. It's very difficult to keep working, man. I would be very happy if there was a woman who was happy to, to make money, and I would stay home, take care of kids, and just keep the house nice and tidy. It's a very, very easy thing to do.
Wow.
If someone else has the responsibility to do.
Well, I think that's one of the main differences in the form of an example between men and women is, you say, okay, men are testosterone-driven beings, so they're inclined to get out and they're able to work so many years.
Absolutely. It's like, see, if you look at the German Shepherd breeds, the working line German Shepherd dogs, which are the East German, which were the original breeds, the working line, not the American line, which is the show line. See, when you look at them and you are choosing a dog, what you have to do is you have to look for their temperament. You have to look for what they call the prey drive. For the males, people like to think, oh, men want to work hard because it attracts women. Well, that's only part of the story, because I still work hard even when I don't want to attract women, because that's what my drive is. It's my prey drive. That's my temperament. Just like a purebred working line German Shepherd dog, I just can't sit. I need to do more. I just can't sit. I'm restless. I need to better myself. Does that make sense? That makes
very much sense. And there's also that I think that what if your wife or another man's wife agrees to take the role of provider, and well, she starts working like 50, 60, 70 hours a week, making good money, working as a consultant or something, she is able to provide everything. And then your role, or my role, for example, is, to stay at home, be a stay-at-home father, keep the house clean and everything. Well, we all know that keeping the house clean, well, it isn't a full-time job. It is not even a part-time job, it is
No,
that is not.
I do it now, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty happy with it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and
Yeah,
taking care of children, maybe that's another story, but children, of course, they also go to school and
yep,
spend
yep,
a lot of time at school. So, which means there
absolutely.
you will have a lot of free time. And I
Yeah.
think that uh, um, there will be a point that as a man you get bored and restless and you start, like, for example, use that time to become to start a business, for example. You know what I'm saying?
Whatever
I
works.
think even in
But see,
such a
but
situation we will thrive in some way.
yeah, yeah, but see, here's the problem. Women psychologically cannot accept a man as their husband or partner who sits at home and does nothing except taking care of home and children.
No.
It's not in their psyche. Now, there will be women who will, jump up and they're going to comment. You will see when you post this talk. They will say, oh yeah, but I work and my husband stays home and he's a stay-home dad and he takes care of children. Yeah, but that's because you make more money than him for now. But when you actually got married to him and partner up with him, he was the same social status as you were. It's only the current temporary arrangement that he's staying at home for whatever reason. There could be a million different reasons. But eventually, the expectation is that the husband, the man, will not be a deadbeat father. That is why, and there are articles online, working women, strong, independent women who are working full time. They hate their husbands who stay at home and do nothing.
Yeah.
So, and do you imagine the hypocrisy when when women do household work? It's a lot of work. But when a man does it, he's a deadbeat dad. He stays at home and does nothing. You see the
That's
hypocrisy. And they resent him because psychologically, that is what hypergamy is. With the term that we see being used on the internet, the hypergamy, a woman wants a man who's superior to her in status. And in her psychological framework, the man who stays at home is not superior to her. She does not stay satisfied or happy with it. And they are resentful. They are extremely resentful against such husbands. So that is not doable.
No.
So in theory, yes, we can discuss this as an option and we will see when people comment. In reality, women will not accept it because it just does not fit their biological, expectation and mind.
Yeah, but I think that's not terrible or something. It's just the way it is, and I think
It's
we have
not
to
that.
accept it and
Oh,
don't.
look, you
Yeah.
can, it's an open invitation to all men to offer it to their wives and partners. How about we swap the roles? I'm happy for it. It's the easiest thing that I could actually think of. If you're making money, I stay home. I'm very happy. There's nothing more important to me than taking care of my own children. Nothing is more important than that. But they will
They will
not
not
do
do
it
it.
because
No.
then you're a deadbeat husband. You're staying home, you're doing nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so they will not accept that. It's an open invitation and a challenge. Some women do it. It's only a makeshift temporary arrangement in most of the cases.
Well, maybe if you're like a diehard feminist, as a woman, that you do it and you take pride in it, and
Look,
resent your husband at the same time. Like, for
oh
example,
yeah,
you
absolutely.
have
People
those
do
guys who
that.
have,
Women do.
I am the breadwinner and everything, and I'm proud of it, and I'm a feminist, and this and this and this. But deep inside, there is that
Oh
resentment and
yeah,
that
they hate it.
disrespect
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah, absolutely. It's just not in their biological makeup. They will not accept it. They will just jettison such a man eventually from their lives.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the reason why my last relationship wasn't a success, because she was career-wise like higher in the ladder than
Yep. That
myself, and I think it didn't only bother her, but she was always a little bit covert about it, but it also bothered me because a man doesn't like that either, eh? Like, I think most men
excuse
don't like it. Are you okay?
me. Okay, yeah, sorry. So, yeah, no, that's all right. Sorry.
Okay, no, I
Pardon me.
just okay.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah. So it's not only the women who builds. Well, maybe women are more like resentful in
I don't
such a
know, man.
situation,
Yeah.
but like
Um,
men, like most men,
I am.
are yeah,
Yeah.
that most men don't like such a situation either, because well, you say, well, let's swap roles. I would be very happy to be in that situation, but maybe temporary. I think in the long term, do you think you will be like happy and fulfilled as a man in
Look,
such a
I would.
situation?
Yeah. Look, I would probably, and this is what I used to say to my ex-wife, that, hey, look, you should do something part-time because it's important to keep your
Yeah.
sanity. So I would probably do maybe 1 day a week or 2 days a week, and that's it. But my primary focus would be on the kids. And then, see, the thing is, as you said, that kids go to school. Eventually, my son will start going to school, and once I drop them to school,
Mm.
I've got 6 hours to myself,
Yeah.
or 7 hours for that matter. That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And my habit is, and my tendency and inclination has always been, okay, home chores should be delegated to a helping hand for some money. Paying them that money, I actually buy myself time to do something more important. And people think, oh, I'll save money by doing the chores myself, but I think it's actually the other way around, because time is the most important commodity. So I would take that time and I would read books. I may start writing articles. I don't know, but I could come up with, in 6, 7 hours is a lot of time to do few things.
Mm.
Once your kids are grown up and going to
Oh
school.
yeah, 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 very much. Yeah, do you?
And even now, when I don't have kids, and this lady comes, cleans the house, goes away, I'm sitting, oh, geez, I've got too much time. What should I do? Because you can read books, but then eventually you need some time to relax and not read books,
Mhm.
because you have to recharge your battery.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of time when kids go to school and you're home by yourself.
yeah, yeah. Well, I would say
Yeah,
take the opportunity then to do it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And do what you think is the right thing to do. But I would not pick anything that would conflict and compromise my role towards caring for my children if I was doing. Like
Yeah.
right now, I have them every weekend. Essentially, I do not go to any social gathering where I can't take my kids, because uh, I simply refuse to leave them with anybody just to have my own social desires fulfilled. So I don't go to dinners unless they say, okay, you can bring your kids with
Oh
you.
wow.
Period. There is no compromise on that thing.
Okay. Wow. That's
Absolutely,
well,
absolutely.
that's completely different how it goes. Like yeah, in most like Western families,
Yeah,
it's
oh, I know. And see that this was one of the things that my ex was very, very upset, because she wanted me to, adopt this routine of, oh, let's go for dinner and let's leave the kids with someone else. And I said, look, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not comfortable leaving my kids. Your son is 2 years, like, and Wolf, I tell you, my son, just the other day, I was going to grab a
Mhm.
coffee in the morning, and I had popped out of the clinic because a couple of patients didn't turn up. So I had about a 15 minutes hiatus. So it's a small town. So I quickly ran across the road to grab a coffee. And as I grabbed the coffee and I was going back to the clinic, the preschool where my son goes for for his, activities and everything, they were walking across on the other side of the street, and he saw me and he yelled, Baba, Baba, and he just left everything. He wanted to come with me.
Hmm.
And I just I just brought him with me. He came to me in the clinic. I have got this area where kids can sit and they can do their
Hmm.
activities. And I was busy doing my work and he was busy doing his activities.
Hmm.
And if I had said, no, I'm not taking you, he would just start crying. It's just not,
Hmm.
he just is emotionally attached with me. I cannot just leave him there
Hmm.
if he wants to be with me. So how can I leave him for social gathering or a party or going to pub
Hmm.
with someone
Hmm.
else when his requirement is that he wants to be with me and he wants my
Hmm.
attention? And it's not like he's constantly engaging me. He is doing his thing, he's playing, but he wants to be next to me, sitting with me, or I should be in his line of vision, something like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And eventually he will grow out of it. He's growing and it's getting less and less
Yeah.
intense. And I can see in next 1 year or so he will outgrow this phase. But by that time, he's got this emotional bond with me, which is going to persist for rest of our lives. You cannot, there is no other way you can develop this bond with your children or with your parents for that matter.
Yeah.
And it is critical to their psychological development because see, what a kid who is 3 years of age or 4 years of age, they cannot understand the concept of time very well. To them, if dad walks away, to them, dad has abandoned the child. That is how they perceive it. That is why they cry like that, because they are afraid that they feel like the dad is abandoning me. That is what they feel.
Yeah, I can remember that when I was very young, yeah. But it was more like directed towards my mother, I think. That yeah, when you cannot find her, for example, you see it
Oh,
with the small
absolutely, man.
children in the supermarket or in the shopping
A-
center, and they have
Absolutely.
lost their parents. Wow, they are crying like they are going to die.
Oh, geez. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I'll tell you, I'm now 40, going to be 47 this July,
Right.
and my father passed away about, well, 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I can tell you, a son always needs his father, a daughter always needs her father. That void that once there, people say time heals, that's rubbish. With time, you just realize the void actually stays the same. Nothing heals. The only thing that does happen is that time allows you to, you just don't have time to think about it all the time, because you have to focus on things which are more important, more critical, like my son, my daughter. And through the day, I'm busy with that. As soon as I retire to bed, they're asleep. The memories of my dad and myself, they just hit me like a boomerang. So if at this, I'm 47, if this is what I feel right now, that I don't have my father in my life, imagine what a 4-year-old thinks about it. You cannot even imagine, because most of the time we don't remember those memories. By the time we hit 5, 6, I do remember a few of the things from 4 years of age, and you remember having those feelings, but most kids don't remember that. But it's there in their subconscious. You can see it.
Yeah, yeah.
So there are not enough words which can describe that impact on a 4-year or 3-year-old child. And here in West, parents do this without batting an eyelash about. It's just cruel to the kids. It is it is just not right for the child, to the child. It's just cruel to them.
Yeah. You think that many social problems, well, obviously you think that many like social problems have roots in the fact that, children are, for example, why do you think that children of single mothers are so highly represented in prisoner populations?
Yeah, absolutely. Because as I said, I gave you the example of those elephant bulls, the
Oh yeah,
adult male
yeah.
elephant bulls. There's no limit setting because there was no father.
Yeah.
Period. That is the reason. And people can say, oh, there's no evidence. There's no. Well, yeah, there is evidence. 80% of jail population is from single mother households. How's that for an evidence? It's rubbish that you choose to
Yeah.
call it there's no evidence.
That
Yeah, if you want to engage in semantic acrobatics and calisthenics, yeah, sure, go ahead, but that's not change the reality.
absolutely not. No, that really, really triggers me. There's not so much that triggers me at the moment, but that if I like read that about feminists that say proudly, well, I don't need a man to raise my child. I will just go to the sperm bank and raise a child of my own. And that
Yeah,
same,
good luck with that.
yeah,
And
but
I'll tell you, I can't talk in too much detail, but I can tell you, I know of individuals who do not know who their father is. And Wolf, there you can see they are in so much emotional and spiritual
yeah,
turmoil. They they have this drive. I want to know who my father is.
yeah,
I want to know who my father is. This is their singular aim in life. And there is no way for them to know who their father is. And if there's a book, I don't remember what the name of that book is. There's a woman whose both parents were lesbian, so they got sperm from somewhere, and she had so much resentment against those two parent women because She said, they violated my right. They did not let me have a father in my life. So they are there. This is nonsensical, or, you can, and I actually thought of having, a surrogate mother, because I really wanted more. I always wanted more children. So once my ex-wife left me, I thought, okay, how about surrogate mother? And then I thought, no, it's unfair to the child, because I cannot bring myself around to say to the child, no, you don't have your mother. You can never meet your mother. I would have to, it would be wrong morally, no matter what the law is. I don't care what the law is. There may be a provision in law that mother cannot have any access, but I think as a human being, I would consider it immoral. I would definitely allow the child to see the mother, but it's wrong to have a child, in my opinion, morally, when the child cannot have ongoing care with the mother. It's not about me fulfilling my desires. It's me acting responsibility so the child can have what is rightfully child's right. That is what they should have. That is what my duty and responsibility is.
Yeah. I must say, having experienced like not being abandoned in some way, but let's. My father once said to me, and I accepted that he said that I was like, yeah. Until today, I'm still struggling with some things because my parents were divorced when I was still a baby, and he said like, well, like today the norm is like 50% of parents are divorcing. So what's normal? This is just normal, and get used to it. Something like that. And I thought it was a little bit too simplistic, because as a child, yeah, I think it's just unnatural. You just need two parents at the same time. Also because yeah, you get well. It's important that as parents you have to try that you not get some kind of division, you know,
Yeah.
and that's what I struggled with personally. That when I was
Yeah. Look,
yeah
I'll tell you, something about the divorce as a child and divorce parents as an adult. How old was I? I was 30
yeah
something when my parents
all right
separated, and it was so devastating for me. I was a working professional. I had the best job in the country,
mm-hmm.
and I almost shot myself during that time.
Whoa
I actually had a gun in my hand. I put it to my head, and eventually, being a Muslim, it's wrong, to commit suicide. So that thing prevailed, and I didn't shoot myself
yeah
eventually. But I did actually discharge the gun into the roof. And at that time, I didn't care if the bullet ricocheted and hit me in the skull and killed me. So you can imagine how close I was to killing myself. So
mm-hmm.
as a child, as an adult, it doesn't matter. Divorce is always devastating for the children.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, I was 30 plus. I was like adult. I was a professional, very busy job. It didn't matter. Nothing changes the fact that when your parents divorce, it destroys the children.
Yeah,
And
but what do you
that's what it
think?
is.
Like, that's what I was trying to think and trying to say, but I just can't do it somehow. Is the reason why it is so devastating? What is this? What is yeah?
It's your, it's the same thing as the German Shepherd prey drive. It's our biological drive.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it is there in every individual. So I have this, and every individual has this biological drive for me to spend time and to know my father, to know my mother, to be with them.
Hmm.
Although I know my father is no more there,
Hmm.
I still long to be with him.
Hmm.
I wish somehow we could reverse time and I could spend one more day with him.
Hmm.
Similarly, it's a similar drive in every individual. They want to be to they want to be in a home, in a family,
Hmm.
and a family and a home consists of a father and a
Hmm.
mother.
Hmm.
and they will try to paint, oh, this is a patriarchal social
Oh,
construct.
fuck
No, it
that.
is not.
Yeah. Sorry
Yeah,
for
no, it
my
is not. It's a
language.
it's a biological drive. You can there's a saying, you can use a pitchfork to drive the nature out, but in the end, nature always returns and it always wins, and that is absolutely true. And it's devastating, because even today I think of how my parents separated, and I feel sad. If that had not happened, I would have never left home. I would still be with my parents, both of them. I still long for it. I'm 47, going to be 47. I've got my two own children, and that doesn't change. You just learn to deal with it better over time. Sometimes we don't do that, and every individual has their own way of dealing with it. But this drive is natural. It's there, and it's not abnormal to expect that. And the best example I can think of is it's a very weird example, is that of the prey drive and temperament, and the prey drive in a working line German Shepherd dog. I don't know how else to explain it, because if I don't know if you have if you had dogs or not. I had German Shepherd dog, and they just can't sit. They need something to do, and you need to give them a toy or a ball throw. They go and they grab it, they bring it back to you, and then they are again waiting for the next command. They just can't help it. They can't help
My
it. It's
brother
their
has
drive.
one.
And similarly, this is exactly what those drives are that we have as individual, as biological beings. And to deny them, it's nonsensical to deny them or to pretend that they are social constructs. They are not. The social construct is secondary to these drives, not the other way around.
I just remember something that, yeah, I think I was like 10 years old or 11 years old, and I remember that I always went. There was a family living in the street, in the same street as me at that moment. I was living with my mother, and I always loved to be there in their home. It was a father and a mother still together, of course. I think they're still together to this day. And I was befriended with their son, and the daughter also is also a friend of mine. She was even in my class. And it just I think it's best to describe this feeling of warmth, like when I was sitting at the dinner table, because at one moment I just sometimes just was invited to eat with them and stuff like that. And then I'm sitting, and
absolutely.
it was just like they were just doing their things, like son was being the son, daughter was being the daughter, father was being the father, and mother was being the mother. And I was really like,
absolutely.
Wow, just sitting there was just giving me it's giving me goosebumps right now. It was just so that feeling. I didn't know that feeling, and it was so alien to me. And then I also discovered like what I was missing, like wow, just this.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, this is the other sad thing, because of the feminism and because they broke down and destroyed the family unit, which is the prelude to maintenance and propagation of any civilization. They've destroyed the family unit. And what's happened is that now people who are growing up, the young men like yourself and women and the girls and the next generation, they don't know. They know they are missing something.
Yeah.
But because they've never seen it happen to them in their life, they don't even know what to look for. And as you've best described what I say, that when you see it, then you know what you've been missing all your life. But if you had not seen this, you wouldn't even know that this is what you were missing. And there are people, because the only lifestyle this generation has known is either single mother household, or if they're both parents, the only thing they can recall is being dropped at the daycare center. And when they come back, they're so tired, they don't have time to develop any bond with the child. Parents are just getting ready for the next day. Child is too tired, they're dozing off, and they don't know what is true family bond, family emotion. And I remember, like, all my life, my father used to work. He was in the military. He was a doctor as well. So, when he used to come home around 2:30 in the afternoon, and my mother would say, okay, clean up the table, off you go, put your books away, clean the table, get ready, your father is coming home. And she would ask me and my brother to go out and open the gate for my dad to drive in. And when my dad would drive on, I would go and open the door for him, take his stuff from him. My brother would take out the stuff from the rear seat. So,
Yeah.
we were taught to respect our father and the elders, any elder for that matter. And we would not eat till dad would come home. That is it. That was the rule. There was no compromise. And we would wait for father or mother, and we would start together as a family. Now, dad is just a disposable item in the home household, and mother is doing her thing, dad is doing his thing. Kids have no clue what should they be doing. And in fact, it's the responsibility of the parents, both mother and father, to instruct their children what to do so that they are better prepared for the life that they are going to face 20 years from today.
Yep.
But that's not happening anymore, and no wonder kids are so lost. They're directionless. They don't know what they know lot is missing from their lives. They just don't know what it is. They're directionless. They're aimless. They do not have an anchor in life. Everybody needs an anchor in life, and that anchor is the family. Without that, you're like a rogue planet. Rogue planets are planets which break
Yeah.
free from their respective solar system, and they're hurtling through the cosmos and cosmic space, and they just are aimless. They're just
Yeah.
wandering. So that's what they become then, because they have no anchor in life.
Yeah. It's very recognizable. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, I had known one woman. I had a short relationship with her, and she was the daughter of a single mother, of course, and she has
Hmm.
never known her father. Her father had abandoned her when she was
Jesus.
like 2 years old, and
Hmm.
not to be disrespectful or something, but she was the greatest nutcase I've ever met,
Yeah.
and she
Yeah.
had serious, serious psychological problems. But
Oh
the
yeah,
the
absolutely.
problem with her is she was one of the most beautiful girls I had ever seen. Like when I was
Yeah.
with her somewhere, then guys would come up to me like, "Is that your girlfriend?" Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that was like
Hmm.
a difficulty, I think, for her development because she was
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think that she had a big history in getting male attention, having no boundaries. Well, that equals riding the
Hmm.
carousel, I think. And
Yeah. The proverbial
yes,
cock carousel, as they call it. Yeah.
when I heard that term for the first time, to laugh out loud. But anyway,
Yeah.
um, a very sad existence for her because she was really, really, and that's why I could a little bit relate
Yeah.
to her. But she was really
Yeah.
a
Absolutely.
wow, such a lost soul, completely lost.
Yeah. Lost
Like
soul. That's the right
exactly the
description.
what you say about the planet that has abandoned the solar system,
Yeah.
exactly like that,
The rogue
the
planet.
rogue planet.
Yeah.
So wow, and um, well, that's just very sad. I think she went to America
It
because her
is.
father was an American. She even looked for him but didn't find him, and
Oh,
afterwards she heard
yeah.
that he didn't want to see her. Well, that would be so
Oh, wow.
painful, I think, for
Oh,
her.
devastating,
That's
man.
devastating,
Devastating. That's
but
devastating.
yeah.
For a child to know that their parent does not want to see them,
Oh,
or they want to abandon them, is just the most um, devastating feeling, I think, one could. It just breaks you from the inside,
yeah.
and
Well, and that's
yeah,
yeah.
it would destroy
You
you.
would just, if I can tell a little bit like personal thing, is that
Please, please.
well, you sent me an email because of that talk with XT, and he made a very good
Yeah.
observation, of course, about spouseification of with my mother and stuff like that. But what I didn't actually tell about my father is my father has had a well, he has some problems as well, and I think up to like 4 times he pulled that off to me, uh, like he abandoned me in a very well hostile way, saying like you're not my
Hmm.
son anymore, and Well, I think 1.5 year ago he did that again, and was I think yeah it must have
Mm-hmm.
been the third time that he told me, well,
Yeah.
you're not my son anymore, and I want you to change your last name into your mother's name.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
well, this year we separated again because we had contact for a short time. I separated again. This time I
Yeah.
was the one who just
Yeah.
like refused to have contact with him. And I think right now I
Mm-hmm.
think it's because of some sense of revenge because he
Yeah.
has
It
abandoned
can
me
be.
a few times right now, and I just want him to feel
Mm.
like the same how it is to be abandoned. And well, of
Yeah.
course he reacted and he told me like, well, no, you're really not my son anymore, and I really don't want to see you ever again and stuff like that. But like I said, he has his problems as well, So it's
No, I'll tell
yeah,
you what it is, Wolf. It is. I'm actually. You'll find it very odd. I actually feel happy for you and your dad because what you're doing is you're expressing your extreme deep love for each other by saying you're not my son anymore, or you saying you're not my
really.
father
Do you think
anymore.
that is?
Because deep inside, I can tell sitting here, I can sense your deep love and affection and your desire to be with
Yeah,
your
yeah,
father
yeah. That's true, man.
by actually, and that is what you're saying is actually manifestation of that.
Mm.
You're actually never going to abandon your father, and I can tell you it's exactly the same thing from your father. And this is what he's looking for is that you go and you tell him, no, dad, I'm not going to leave you. Forget
Mm.
it. You're stuck with me. That is that they're looking for affirmation and reassurance because they're too afraid to
Mm.
lose you.
Mm.
And I can tell you, did your father marry again or have any other
Yeah,
children
yeah,
or
yeah, he
no?
did. First of all, yeah,
So
happy that you say it. Well, maybe it's true. But my father,
you'll find it. It is true. Mark my
well,
time.
I
Mark my
think it's
words. That
because
date and time, and it is
I
true.
think you're right because it's the emotions that go with it. Like he's never
Yes.
abandoned
Yes.
me with a cold heart. It was always
No.
driven by so
No.
much anger, and that's at the same time that's a little
Yep.
bit like his problem is his anger management and stuff like that. But anyway, he has two children after me. So that means I have a
Mm-hmm.
half sister and a half brother, and my mother as well. So I have
Mm-hmm.
like two half sisters and two half brothers, and so it's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit complicated. But yeah,
Is he still staying with his mother of other
no, no,
children? Is
no,
she
no,
still? Are they still together or they
no,
separated?
separated. And after that, he got a relationship of 10 years, also separated. And now he's
Mm-hmm.
just like you're talking about a rogue planet. He's just like the rogue himself. He's just
So
completely
he's by himself, is it?
he's by
Is he
himself,
by
and
himself?
he's like
Yeah.
he's a how you say that, a womanizer. For some sense,
Mm-hmm.
I think he has like flinks at the moment, one flink after the other,
Yeah.
and doing stuff like that. I don't know. And he's a businessman.
Yeah. Look. Yeah. Look. He's um, a father for a father. Generally speaking, there are obviously always exceptions to anything. For a father,
Hmm.
the most devastating thing, and for a man, for a family man, the most devastating thing is that he has no family because for a man, again, just like a German Shepherd
Hmm.
dog, the sole purpose of existence is to fulfill his purpose to raise a
Okay.
family and to be a
Hmm.
provider. That's a biological instinct. And once you take that purpose away from that person, that individual, they can kill
Hmm.
themselves. And so, for example, you are the only reassurance. He's looking for a reassurance and for a reason not to do that to himself. And many times, this kind of behavior, which is womanizing, and they people become when they are really disturbed, people can become reckless,
Yeah.
man. And imagine someone who's tried having a family 4 times or 5 times, and every time it's resulted in a separation. A person who's now lonely,
Hmm.
alone, he has no purpose in life. So he's trying to find his
Hmm.
purpose. And the way he tries to do is to seek reassurance of your love
Hmm.
for him.
Hmm.
And my father see, me and my father were very close, but you put us in the same room in 15 minutes, you would find us yelling at each other with some sort of, And he would say, when we were upset, he would say all sorts of things to me. And and I would just keep looking at him. See, because from my point of view as a Muslim, my dad can say, and he's got the right to say anything to me. He can get
Yeah.
upset with me, and I just I just accept that, him being the father, I accept it from him that he has got that right to do that to me, and we don't get upset with it. Although we may yell it, I may get upset and I may yell, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to be disrespectful or abandon
Mm.
him. And all he would need was "Oh, Dad, come on, Dad, I'm not having this discussion with you. I'm not going." And like 5 minutes down the line, we would be,
Mm.
happy, chatting and cracking
Mm.
jokes. And because, see, when my mother did to him whatever she did, and he left, he loved my mother to the last moment of his life,
Mm.
man. He did everything for my mother. And his only reassurance in life was the fact that he knew, oh, my sons are with me. My children love me. That is the only reason he was alive for such long time.
Mm.
And that is what your father is probably seeking, because I would say, and see, it's in a society where there is no respect taught. When a father who gives his life to the family, and in return he gets disrespect and gets vilified,
Mm.
they just don't know what to do with their
Mm.
lives. See, I come from a culture where I've seen this happen. What's a family? What's a respect? How does a man does what he's supposed to do? How does a father take care of his family and acts like a father? So I've got this whole history in my head, this whole culture of several thousand
Oh,
years.
yeah.
You can't scratch it off. You can't
No.
scratch it off. And then there's a religious element to it, because Quranic proclamation is that you look after your parents like they looked after you when you were weak and unable to do anything for
Mm.
yourself. So that is the level of
Mm.
commitment that is required from children towards their
Mm.
parents. So he was your father doesn't even understand possibly that what exactly is he yearning for, because in your society, from what you're describing, that thing probably doesn't exist anymore for him to understand what he
Well,
thinks.
that's
I don't
he
know,
said one thing.
but that's what naturally
Yeah,
is.
he said
Yeah,
one thing is that, and he said it quite recently, I think last year or something, when I had contact with him, is that he misses taking care of people. And with
absolutely.
taking
That's
care of
what it is.
people, like he is actually he
Yeah.
that's his like problem, that's his personality. He has two extremes. Plus he's coming his parents are coming from Indonesia, and he's
Hmm.
half Indonesian himself, like genetically. So they're also coming from a maybe a culture that is more similar to, for example, the Pakistani culture, with a lot of
Yes, yes,
respect,
yes.
respect for
It
elders and
would
stuff like
it
that.
would be.
And
Yeah,
he's, I think, it's in his blood, to be like that. So he said,
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
miss that because he he loves to take care of people. He loves to take care. He always, wow, when we had some kind of family setting, like with his last uh, partner, he was always taking care of
Hmm.
everyone all the time, and he had so
Yeah,
much joy in doing that. And well, right now,
absolutely.
being a rogue, what he's doing, I think, is like how do you say that? He is um, well, hiding, well, seeking a refuge
Yeah,
in flings,
yeah,
in going out,
yes, yeah,
in
yeah,
yeah, he's a businessman, making money, stuff like that. Uh, so
yeah.
yeah, but anyway, yeah,
Yeah, but see, money doesn't bring peace and happiness in
no,
life. That's the problem. Yeah, it's a bit of a, money takes care of a few things, not
yeah,
everything. And certainly you cannot buy or purchase
mm,
happiness and meaningfulness in life with money. And see, as I said, that a biological drive to raise a family. And raise a family, it's very few words, but it's a very complex thing in real life, because it involves working, it involves
mm,
loving, it involves wanting respect. See, here's the thing: you work, you make money, this is your life. You give your blood and sweat to your job. You sacrifice your
mm,
time. You leave at 7 in the morning, you come back at 7 at night, and you still have to do some more work to get ready for tomorrow's meetings. Okay? You're almost never resting. And you want some degree of respect and gratitude in return for that. You do not ask or want your wife or your children to donate their blood to you, but what you do want and you do deserve is some degree of gratitude and respect from them. You are giving your life force to them, and in return, do you not deserve respect and some gratitude? You do. And see, that is where the Western civilization is wrong, because they think rights come without responsibilities. Well, you do have rights, but you also have responsibilities. You cannot have rights without responsibilities. Okay? And when you are given a responsibility, then you do have some rights too. And your right as a provider is respect and gratitude, because you gave your life force to your family. But that respect is not there, because you, in the Western system and law, you are a disposable entity. With the flick of a signature, half of your money will be leached off and given to the woman, and you can't do anything about it. You can come home working all day, and she will ask you to do the dishes because man and woman are equal. This is that is what the problem is. So you've got all the responsibilities but no rights.
You get no.
So how is that?
You get no respect, and
you cannot do that.